people are led by what they love. I know I'm led by what I love. So if I get on board with what my employees love, and I'm careful now to hire people that have a love that's in alignment where we're trying to go with the company, then the next thing is to create a caring environment where you lower fear so people can be themselves. So a key way that we do that is we reward people for mistakes.
Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, the place where expert-based business owners learn how to build momentum, avoid burnout, and create sustainable success on their own terms. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, strength and conditioning specialist turned founder and CEO of Prime Performance Coaching, the personal performance strategy firm for high-achieving business owners and operators. I partner with driven entrepreneurs to implement the Prime Performance process, an awareness-based operating system that's helped me and countless solopreneurs and small business owners evolve from just being high performers on the edge of burnout to prime performers building sustainable success. The impact of Prime Performance process has led me here, where I'll show you how to get unstuck and design your own prime performance life without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity. So whether you're hustling after hours or scaling your passion project, today and here, you're going to get real stories, science-backed strategies, and practical frameworks to help you excel every step of your journey. It's time. Let's get intentional, build momentum, and become prime performers together. We'll get started just after this message. If you're an ambitious business owner or side hustler who's ready for a breakthrough, tired of spinning your wheels, looking to slide past burnout and build real momentum, I'd love to invite you to book a free Prime Performance Strategy session with me or one of our strategists. This is your chance to get personalized insight on what's been holding you back and get a clear path to move forward. No fluff, just actionable strategy. So if you're interested, visit survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to request your spot now. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Looking forward to helping you become a prime performer. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today, we've got a special guest. Today, we have Glenn Bostock, founder and CEO of SnapCap. And Glenn's cool. So it's going to be an awesome conversation. And a little background on Glenn. He started his career as a cabinet maker back in the early 80s. And for years, he ran a small custom shop with just like one or two employees. But everything changed when he developed a new elevator interior system that caught the attention of big names like Otis Elevator, which landed him national contract. That opportunity forced Glenn to scale quickly, and suddenly he had to learn how to run a much bigger business. But today, SnapCap has grown to over 140 employees and builds elevator interiors and office pods used by companies like Starbucks and Microsoft. But what's most interesting about Glenn's story isn't just the growth, it's how he chose to run the company. Instead of the traditional top-down management, he built a culture around three values: be kind, be authentic, and be useful. Those principles eventually became the foundation for his upcoming book, A Human Business. And in today's conversation, we're going to talk about things like entrepreneurship, leadership mistakes, building company culture, and what it really takes to grow a business without losing the human side of it. So Glenn, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive in. We had a great opportunity to kind of connect before this recording. So in a previous conversation, you had mentioned that you started the career as a cabinet maker. So I want to ask you right off the bat here, if I could, like, what did that path look like when you first started? Like, where did that idea come from, and where did you see yourself going?
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned to you, I had a lot of learning disabilities growing up, and I was basically a complete failure at school. And where I did find success was working in my dad's wood shop in the basement of our house. And my best friend growing up, his dad was a cabinet maker. So we both spent our free time building things. So when I went to college for fine woodworking, and finally I found success at school because I was doing something I love to do. And then after school, I rented a barn with some college buddies and I went into, well, that's not true. I didn't immediately go into business with my college buddies. I first of all worked for a couple of cabinet makers. So I know the name of this is surviving the side hustle. The benefit of working for those other cabinet makers was I really learned the business of cabinet making by working in a cabinet shop. And fortunately for me, I was paid so low that it encouraged me to start my own business because I thought, well, I'm not making much money working for this guy that I really like and I'm learning a lot from, but figured, well, I can probably not make a lot of money working for myself too. And starting in business when you're young and you don't have a lot of responsibilities, I think there's a lot to that. I'm sure you can start businesses at any time in life, but before you get all your responsibilities going in life, starting a business, so I was 23 when I started my business. Rented a barn with some buddies. My newlywed wife and I brought our dog to work and started cabinet making. And when I was still working for the woodworker I was working for, he let me use his shop on the weekends, and I was building stuff and selling it at crafts fairs and things. So I got experience doing my own thing, starting my own business. Surprise, surprise, people didn't want to pay me money to do really high end cabinet work because I didn't have a reputation. So I ended up starting my business by refinishing furniture and fixing broken furniture. And what I would say to people that want to get into business, to get into business in the neighborhood of something that you want to do that you love doing, but maybe it's not exactly the thing you want to do. And then over time you can grow into what you love doing.
Yeah, I love that, because that speaks directly to me. Like, I started my career, I have a master's degree in exercise science, and I really love the gym and fitness and everything, and that helped me, like you with the first woodworker, kinda get the taste of, business and what it was kinda like, and then when I decided to branch out and pivot out of strength and conditioning, I still loved coaching. I knew there was more to what I could teach and provide, than just squats and deadlifts. So it became like this process of refining and figuring out exactly what it is that I can do and who should I be helping. And then through that journey, I landed in what I do today with prime performance coaching. But I, yeah, and I want to bring us back to a second, well, for how you just kind of started off
Well,
because you
I've got a
mentioned,
question for you on your
sure,
business. So when
okay,
you started, did you have like a business and a bank account and you were getting paid and that kind of
yeah,
thing?
yeah. When I first started, I filed for an LLC. I had to take out I had to, like, take out notifications in, like, the local and state papers or something like that to announce that I was in business, and I
Okay.
remember just I had, like, $10,000 that I had saved up cash, and I just took it to the bank, and I was like, "I'd like to open up a business account," and they're like, "Alright, well, do you have a business? Are you actually a business?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got all the paperwork here," and they were like, "Alright, well, let's roll," and from
Okay.
there is when things kinda started.
Right. Okay. So just in starting a business, I think one of the key things is to just get started. Like I almost don't think it matters what you do, but opening up a bank account, being able to take money from people, figuring out your taxes, just learning the mechanics of a business is huge because once you get into the rhythm of having customers, collecting money and doing that part of the business, then you can really take that business almost anywhere as you've demonstrated with what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, and problem kind of appears though when because you get really good at what you were doing, right? Like I became really top notch. Like I was studying, reading all the latest research that was coming out in the field. Like I was really committed to becoming a great coach, which helped me kind of scale my book of business up. But then when I stepped into that entrepreneurial space, I didn't know how to run a business because all my education was just on like anatomy, physiology, program development, like understanding all of these things. And so I was kind of like caught in that technician role. And it was hard for me to kind of shift gears into what I really wanted to be doing. And as you said before, it's really just taking action, just kind of figuring it out as you go. But in order to take that action, it requires a certain degree of confidence. And you had mentioned how when you had first started off in school, there was a lot of learning disabilities that you were kind of dealt with. And that can be a huge impact on your confidence. So I want to ask you, like, how did you build that confidence up? Like, because when you made that decision, you're like, oh, I could make not a lot of money working for myself. Like, you still are taking on much more risk at that point.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. I'm gonna I'm gonna answer that, but I'm gonna flash forward to where I am now so you understand. When I started in business when I was 23, now I'm turning 66 this year. I've got 2 businesses. I've got 144 employees. I've got companies in the US and Canada. In fact, I'm in one of our we make office pods. That's one of our key products. I'm in it right now, and you can see my employees because I didn't realize it, but they're doing a company lunch right out here. Uh,
I love it.
but you can see how quiet this pod is. To do what I'm doing now from where I started, if I stuck to what I knew, I think I could have had maybe 1 or 2 employees. I would have been doing small cabinet businesses, but there was a transformation I made through my career that allowed me to expand, and really almost the sky's the limit, because I went from being the technician like you described for yourself up front, which it's incredibly important to start out as a technician because you want to really know your business, and you don't get to know your business unless you actually do the business. So you've been in it, you understand, you're an expert at what you are at. I know how to build things, but I had to shift from being the technician to my first love. So I've written a book, a human business book we can talk about later. But the human business book is those values in my business is be kind, be authentic, and being useful. And being authentic is knowing what you love to do and knowing what your weaknesses are. And I thought my love was around woodworking. What I found was I could be creative, and I can be creative around building a business. And I would say my ruling love is around building a community of people in the business. And I've realized that nobody has all the skills and talents and everything that you need to build a scalable business. So you have to have a mindset of like, I want to attract people here that are adding things that I don't have. And we all need these people with different skills that they love to do. And we all get to fulfill our life purpose more at work, because me by myself in a cabinet shop, I could only have a business of like 100 or $200,000 business, and the goal for the entire company is to do something useful for a customer. Well, the money that you make, uh, the money that we make isn't our goal. Our goal is to be useful, but the money is kind of an indicator of, are you being useful? So now we make north of $30 million of revenue a year. The company's going to go on without me, and that's why I've written this book. I wrote it for my employees initially, and now I'm sharing it with everybody. This is how I think a company should run. And it's about creating a caring environment where people feel their fear is lowered. Because when I was in school with my learning disabilities, I was getting teased by my classmates. And as an adult, I realized I think I could have functioned a lot better in school if I was supported by my classmates, but instead I just sort of shut down because they thought it was funny that I couldn't read well and I was dyslexic. So I thought, well, I'm not going to recreate that in my business. Like, well, I just showed you, we were giving these folks lunch out here, for instance. Um, and then I hire people for what they love to do. So when I hire people, we're hiring for a culture fit first, and we know we can teach people what we need to do here at work. And I hire people for love of a community. So I look at the company as not a business. I don't look at it as a family, but I look at it as a community. And I think, just before we started this talk, you told me you live in, you look out, you're in Connecticut and you're on the water and you love being on the water. So you're living in a community that suits you. I live in a community that suits me, and you can move from community to community. So I'm looking at a business like a community. I'm collecting people that want to be in this community with me. And then I want to build a company culture where I want to see my coworkers succeed and they want to see me succeed. So I think, and the point is to be useful to a customer.
Yeah, I love that because A lot of times what I talk about in my coaching and workshops is about creating a shared success and how that kind of unlocks new opportunities. And I think a lot of times people who are starting out in business, or maybe they're trying to kind of scale, and maybe they're coming from a little more of a, like, they need to make they need more sales essentially to so that they can continue to go, where they might not necessarily consider creating that shared success. They might only be looking at like selling and making the profit or the revenue for that moment there, instead of thinking how to connect with other people. And it reminds me of when I first moved to this community. I was still in strength and conditioning. I put out a message on the job, or not the job board, but the community wall, like on the virtual app, for all the residents, asking if there were any personal trainers in the building. And a couple people had responded to me. And then when I reached back out to them and they found out that I was also a strength and conditioning coach, they totally shut me down and ghosted me. But one person kind of followed through and was open to sitting down and having conversation with me. When I sat down with her, her name is Danielle. When I sat down with Danielle, I told her that I had this idea of hosting an event for all the residents in the building. And I could talk about nutrition or maybe mobility, and she could talk about something else that would pair with me, and just create a good opportunity for everyone to come in, learn a little bit, and then kind of improve their health overall. And because of that, she was open to it. And we both created collaboration. We got to learn a little bit more about each other. And then later down, we were able to refer people to each other. And those other trainers missed out on all of that because they kind of shunned it and they didn't want to create a shared success.
Huh. Right. And you could grow a community of people like Danielle and just keep adding to that. You said you're a strength trainer, and I don't know if, when I say that we have a human business here, there's a couple of things that it's a human business on a couple of levels. One is that we want to create a caring environment and have a community because people want to have connection with each other. To me, the biggest pay for me that I get paid for by being in SnapCap is the relationships I get to have with the other people. The money's fine. And once people make enough money to cover their needs in life, the more important things are the connections that you have with people. Is what are you doing? Is it valued? Are you helping somebody with what you can do? And if you love what you do, you get to have one of those lives where you never really have to work a day in your life. The other way we look at a human business is I actually look at the human body as like a metaphor for how a business should work. So you have the leadership team here in the head, you have the production here in your hands, you have operations here in your torso. And the major way that you grow in a body, the way you grow, like you said, you exercise, you actually tear muscle and then you grow muscle. So you're causing a problem for your muscle, and then your muscle grows because you caused a problem for it, and you grow, health wise, we're all going to be catching colds and different things. And your immune system strengthens itself from having gone through the problems of being around germs. So at SnapCab, we look at our problems as like going to the gym. If you look at the problems as the things that grow you as a person, instead of having the attitude like, man, I must not be doing this right, I keep having these problems. If you change your attitude from that to, oh, look at these problems, they're here for my benefit. It's kind of like if you're in business, I can guarantee you the gym comes to you if you see problems as exercising and tearing muscle and growing as a person.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that too because I remember you sharing with me before that once the national contract kind of came in, you started to grow pretty quickly and you needed to hire a lot more people. And I think
Oh,
you had
right.
mentioned that you had hired multiple leaders that ultimately ended up not working out for the company and the culture.
Right.
And I
Okay.
think and that's a great kind of analogy for like working out and the damaging of the tissues and growing back stronger from that. So what was it kind of like learning like who you needed to fit in the right spots?
Okay. Okay. So that story was I was a woodworker doing custom woodwork. And then I got into remodeling elevators because it's kind of an extension of cabinet work. It's just cabinet work inside of elevators. And then I came up with a system that I applied for a patent for that the elevator interiors went in very easily. And then I said, I'm in the pod business. The pod business is just an extension of the elevator business. These are the same elevator panels, but we're just using them to make a little cabin for a office pod. Anyway, Otis Elevator saw this patent and saw what we were doing, and they At the time, we were doing about one elevator a week, remodeling one elevator a week, and there was like 5 of us doing the business, and they asked me to come up and give them a presentation, and I gave them a presentation, and they said, "Well, how many can you do a week?" And I said, because of because of the I did a patent search. I talked to somebody else that was in the same business that was working with these major elevators, and they said they were doing about 60 elevator interiors a week. So I said, "Well, give enough time to ramp up, I could do about 60 a week." He said, "Yeah, oh, that sounds good. Okay, great." Of course, now I can do 60 a week, but there's no way I could have done it at the time. And I had mentors, and this is another key thing is I highly, highly recommend mentors. I've had mentors my entire career. I still have mentors. My mentor said, "Well, you can't do a national agreement for Otis. You're going to have to license to them, and they'll do it." And I talked to Otis, and they said, "We don't. We've tried doing this before. We know what our core competency is. We want you to do it." And I thought, well, I'm used to failing. The one thing I really learned in school was I got comfortable with failing. I don't mind failing, but what would really bug me is if I lived my life and I didn't try that thing that could have taken off. Like the opportunity, the door that opens for you that you don't walk through, that is what would really bother me. If I try something, which I've tried lots of things that have been big failures, at least I tried it, and I don't mind that. So I did it, and somehow the company grew and grew and grew at 30% for many years, and we went from a revenue in hundreds of thousands to single digits, millions to now we're over 30 million. And, the way I carried myself with an attitude of like, I'm here to serve you, not how much money can I make from you. They always like modified it and they saw value in me. They sent me to their lean manufacturing school. Like Otis was owned by United Technologies, and they sent me to a school for how to do manufacturing. And they kind of mentored me and grew me. But I would say one of the biggest secrets to success is if you're truly trying to add value to other people, people are going to want to get on your team and work with you, and people are going to want to help you to succeed. So having the ability to build trust with people is huge. Building trust, delivering value, and when you fail, you apologize and take responsibility for what didn't work out. And I think some of my failures with customers have built more trust than actually delivering on the job because I was honest with them, and that built trust.
Yeah, trust is easy to lose, hard to earn,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
creating a space where being vulnerable and learning through the losses or the setbacks is pretty powerful from what I've seen. And I remember when we first connected, you talked to me, you showed me about I don't remember 100%, but it was like a mistake board or something
Oh,
like
right.
that. Could you explain a little bit on this reward versus reporting mistakes kind of system that you developed? Hey, sorry for the interruption. It's me, Rob, and I hope you're enjoying today's conversation. But I wanted to remind you, if you're a driven entrepreneur or an expert-based business owner who wants to get unstuck, create sustainable momentum, and really start moving forward, I've got a free resource just for you. You can download my 5 keys to clarity and momentum. It's a PDF guide. It's a quick read, and it'll help you cut through the noise, clarify your next steps, and start building the systems that you need for sustainable success. So if you're new here, or if you haven't grabbed it yet, this is the first step to applying these principles in your own journey. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/5 keys and download your free copy today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/5 keys.
Man, you're good. You're dialing right into the key things. So I've learned a lot from the Japan. I've learned a lot from Toyota in Japan and the Japanese culture in general. I would say in Japan, the entire culture is about collaborating with each other. Whereas here in North America, we're very much about being independent. And within your company, I think you would benefit greatly by having a Japanese culture inside your company. Um, I one of the, Richio Shingo, who was the son of Shigeo Shingo, who developed the Toyota production system, and Richio opened up a number of Toyota plants. The last one was in Toyota, China. When he retired, he was mentoring people, and he's been here to SnapCap, and he was mentoring me. And he told me two things. One is you shouldn't waste your employees' lives. Like, don't have them doing non-value added work. If we didn't have AI around when, but if your workers can use AI and do better, then use AI. But the point of the business is to give a livelihood to people. I think the purpose is around people, not just around benefiting the owner. The other thing he said is the gold is in the problems. If you can identify a problem and solve it, he said it's like finding money on the street. So, with the idea of employees are incentivized, well, I used to be more of a traditional company where I was punishing my employees and yelling at them when I wasn't getting what I wanted. And then my best people were quitting. And I don't know that we'll have time in this time, but it's in my book. I end up having a transformation, realizing that people are led by what they love. I know I'm led by what I love. So if I get on board with what my employees love, and I'm careful now to hire people that have a love that's in alignment where we're trying to go with the company, then the next thing is to create a caring environment where you lower fear so people can be themselves. So a key way that we do that is we reward people for mistakes, because we understand that when you can like surface a mistake, then you can build a mistake proof system around the mistake and then scale the company up. So if you punish people when they make a mistake, it's like telling somebody, don't tell me where we can improve this company. So the way it works is there's a board. We have about 12 boards, 12 or 13 boards in every department. And when something goes wrong, they put a post-it note up about what went wrong. And then every day the management team goes around to all the boards and looks at what went wrong. And every time they put a ticket up there, we give them a carnival ticket, and the carnival ticket, they save those up. And at a company meeting, whoever has the most carnival tickets gets a spin at a prize wheel. I'm looking at the prize wheel right now, actually. But so they might get an extra day's vacation or dinner out with their family. So we're rewarding people for having made the mistake. And when they bring it to the group, then we have a system of doing projects, and we give people time and material to go and improve our system. So every day, people are improving our systems here. So the company gets more and more streamlined. Of course, the problems just seem to keep coming, but as the company it gets more complex. More complexity adds more problems. More problems leads to more growth. Growth means more mistake-proof systems, and it's like your body again. Your body is a self-healing system. We want to have our company as a self-healing system. So those Gemba boards is kind of like the feeling at the end of my hand here. If I put my hand on a hot stove, my brain I'd probably react even before my brain, but it would be like, oh my gosh, that's a problem. And when my leadership team goes around to the Gemba every day and listens to what's going wrong, now instead of a top down business like most businesses, it's the information is going in a circle. And I'm getting as much information on the leadership team as we are able to communicate from the leadership team down to every part of the company, because they're doing this Gemba walk. We call it a Gemba walk. Gemba means, it's a Japanese word that means the actual place. So we go to the actual place of every part of the company every day with our leadership team. So the entire company is highly connected. It's being interconnected at the company. So if you got a pebble in your shoe, I'm pretty sure you'd know right away that you have a pebble in your shoe and you get it out. But many businesses can't feel the pebbles in their shoe, or worse. If you described a lot of the things that most businesses do as the operation of your human body doing that, it would be disease. If you have employees working for you that aren't embracing your company values, and you're paying them, but they're working on some sort of initiative that is in alignment with where the company's going. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's kind of like having a cancer. It's like there's something growing in our company that's not alignment of where we're trying to go. So you want to have everybody in alignment working together.
Yeah, and I think that's great, using the human body too. And if I can nerd out for a second here, like
Huh.
when you touch something and it sends that signal up to the brain, sometimes even that is so slow, even as instantaneous as it is. So we have these little mechanisms in our on our spinal cord that override that, so that the signal doesn't have to go all the way up to the brain, and it can automatically send it back to the muscle to react and go away. And
Really?
that's what our reflexes are. When you go to the doctor and they hit you on the
Okay.
knee and that kicks it out. So that sounds like exactly what you're kind of developing within your own
That's
business, is
right.
like, it doesn't need to necessarily come all the way to the top. Like, if there's issues
Right.
here, announce them for everybody so then we can work on them without it needing to go all the way
Right.
to the top for every single
Everything
thing.
doesn't have to go to the CEO.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, now I'm learning something.
Yeah, I love it. Well,
Okay.
that's so I love that. That's really cool. But I'd love to kind of talk a little bit more about the book, because you've spent years in business building businesses. And I know now you're kind of transitioning a little bit more into personal brand. You've got the book, you're sharing your message with more than just your own company. So I'm interested in why. What made you want to bring this to a bigger audience?
Okay. So the book, when the company became successful and I got into that elevator business and the business was scaling, I only had a community college woodworking background. I wasn't a business person. And I thought I need to hire a real leader. And I tried four different leaders over about 15 years. And every time I hired a new leader to help run the company, they took it in a different direction than I thought it should go. And then one day I decided to embrace my weaknesses and say to everybody, look, I am great at product design. I am great at creative problem solving, I guess. The list of what I'm not great at is way longer than the things that I'm good at. I need help in these areas. I need somebody to help me with my emails, calendar. I need somebody to help me with SOPs. I need somebody to help govern the company because we need the rhythm. It's like our brains are operating. I'm telling my hands to do this, but I need somebody governing to make sure that the operation of the company is going on. I'm not that interested in finance and the different parts of my company, but so I realized I needed people with a wide variety of talents. And when I adopted this human business idea and hired people for a love of the job that we needed done and also a love of building a community, that took a long time. A bunch of people that were very competitive and left, but all of a sudden the company became very scalable. And now I'm getting ready to leave because I'm 66, and it's like, well, in 10 years I'm going to be 76. It's I can't be here forever. I wanted to um, I wanted to have like a constitution that people could refer to so that they knew, it'd be easier for me to sell the company and just make money. I want my company to be an example of a human business because it is actually another governing system. There's a hierarchy governing system. There's a flat organization governing system. Zappos uses this thing called holacracy. There's a thing called sociocracy, but there's very few governing systems of business. And this is a way to govern your business. I built it for my employees, and now I'm sharing it with the world. And I think it's about time for people to uh, I think there's been quite a bit of damage done with the idea that the purpose of a business is to make money for the owners. That's a part of a business, but the purpose of a business should really be creating value for customers first. It would be like, with your body, the purpose of your body isn't to eat as much food as you can. The purpose to eat the right amount of food so you can get up and go do something useful. And the useful part is the key, not the how much do you get. So that's it. I want to spend the rest of my life giving people the idea that I think there's a better, healthier way to run a business, much like the way you want to help have people have healthy bodies. I think having a healthy business body is you could take all those people that you're trying to work with, put them together in a team and do something exponentially bigger than they could do individually.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that, and I love the idea of sharing your book because it's creating more value. It's exponentially providing value to the world because whoever reads the book is going to be able to then bring the information and act on the different things that you have in the book to create better systems and better environments and communities for not only their work situation too, but I imagine this could be useful for families and
Mhm.
just communities of friends as well.
Yeah. There's no limit to where you can apply the idea of being useful. I regularly ask myself, is the next thing I'm going to do, is this useful? I think doing your podcast is super useful. That's why I'm making time for it. I think this is amazing what you're doing, honestly.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and that's part of the whole culture of prime performance coaching that I build was like the collaboration aspect of it, making sure to be able to connect with others, share values, learn from each other, and then um, promoting and spreading the message that others have to bring through. So that's part of the reason why surviving the side hustle started. But talking about taking action and creating more change, I understand that people can get the book. When's
Right.
it coming out? I know I think
Well,
you
it's
have.
formally coming out. So the book is being published by Forbes Books. And I was doing this. This is a little prototype of the book. The actual book is coming out June 16th, but you can get a free chapter of the book on my website, Glenn with two N's, glennbostock.com. So GLENNBOSTOCK.com. And you can get a free chapter there.
I love it. And Glenn, I got to appreciate you for a second. So like I know you've got the companies has a lunch right now going on. You've got a lot of things going on yourself personally between the business, professionally. And I just appreciate you taking the time to kind of come on today to share some of your stories, some of your values, some things that
Absolutely.
helped you be successful. So I appreciate it.
Anytime.
And before I let you go, though, I want to ask you just one final question here because of the audience is in different stages of growing and building their businesses and trying to create a healthy culture for them, not only for their team, but for themselves as well. So I want to ask you, what is the single most important thing that they should focus on when they're starting to grow their businesses, just getting off the ground?
I would say is be aware of what lights you up and what wakes you up in the morning, what you love. And the chances are you're not going to be able to do that right at the beginning, but keep that in mind and then find what is the best thing that you can do with your skills and what you love to do. And then find something that creates the most value for somebody. So look for a market where there's a vacancy. And usually when you're starting out, I would say look for the crummy, terrible job that nobody else wants to do, but there's a real market need for. And like I started out by refinishing furniture. Believe me, being drenched in chemicals and scrubbing old furniture off of things isn't my favorite thing, but but there's a market for it. I understand there's a market for picking up dog poop, whatever that is that you need to do to get started, add value. And then if you're earnestly trying to add value and be useful the entire time, you're going to find that your business you're going to find your business grows rapidly. And then you're going to have to shift your thinking to now that I'm doing this and I know how to add value, now I need to know how to invite other people in and teach them and coach them on how they can add value too. And we can work as a team.
I love it. I love that. Perfect. Thank you. Well said.
Okay.
And I appreciate you so much for hopping on today.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
That's all for today's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found value here, please don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. And please create a shared success by helping us share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from today's conversation. And finally, don't forget to connect with us at survivingthesidehustle.com and give us a follow on socials so that we can take part in following along in your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, remember, success doesn't require a complete sacrifice, just strategy, momentum, and the right support.